Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at the last of the referees' briefings. This is number 6, Garden Worlds. This is from Traveler or for Traveler from Mongoose, second edition, written by Martin Doherty. This is a good series of books. They're all around 20 pages long, and they give different ideas and different things. And this one's Garden Worlds, and I thought, oh, okay, it's nice. It'll have a variety of garden worlds and things you can do on them. More correctly, they should have been called Garden Worlds and How to Get Killed on Them. I liked a lot of the stuff that was brought out in this book. I was pleasantly surprised by this. So we're going to take a page by page look at this guy and what I liked about it today on page 121. Also, usual plea, if you watch my channel, you know now I'm going to say the word subscribers. Please do. Trying to grow the channel, keep it growing. It's growing well, but it's slowed a little bit lately. I'd like to go ahead and fix that. So if you can subscribe, please do. Subscribers who've already subscribed, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I also have a Patreon growing right now. If there's anything you can do to help out there to help the channel keep growing, I would appreciate that. If for the commercial, back to the importance. Oh, one other bit of commercial. Sorry, there is one other bit of commercial. Adepticon. Adepticon happens starting on March 22nd, which as of the posting of this video is about a week away. I will be there on March 25th, which is a Saturday. I'll be there all day. I'm not presenting anything or doing anything. I'm just going to have some fun. I will be wandering around the halls and things like that. I'll be wearing a Doc Savage shirt, not my Traveler shirt. I'll wear a Doc Savage shirt. So if you see me, say hi. If you've never been to Adepticon, it's in Schaumburg, Illinois, and it's a gaming convention primarily for Warhammer 40K. But all versions of Warhammer are played there, as well as Marvel Crisis Protocols, the Star Wars, a lot of the Star Wars games. BattleTech has a big presence there, even Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. So there's a lot to do there. It's a lot of fun. General admission to come in and just wander around is free. You have to register for all the events and stuff, but just to go in and wander around is free. So that's what I'll be doing. So I've been to Adepticon, oh gosh, about the last 12 or 13 years, and it's a lot of fun. So I'll be there on Saturday the 25th, so hope to see you there. Back to the important stuff at hand, which is Traveler Referees Briefing number 6, Garden Worlds, today on page 121. Referees Briefing number 6, Garden Worlds for Traveler. Written by Martin Doherty. This guy was out in 2017. Ran, I think, $7 on for download. They're only available as PDFs. And the definition here they give of a garden world is a world that's suitable for humanity to live on. It's in the Goldilocks zone of the solar system. It has a proper gravity, proper atmosphere, no horrible taint. That doesn't mean that it's completely safe. A garden world can still be a very dangerous place. Also, one thing to remember is that part of a world could be a garden world, and that would still make it considered a garden world. In other words, if you could only live, it has a thin atmosphere that's denser in valleys between vast mountains, and humanity can only live in the valleys, that would still be a garden world as long as you stayed in the valleys. So there's it's kind of a loose definition of a garden world. It's not a perfectly Earth-like world. Class M planet, as Star Trek used to have it, where there's really no problem whatsoever and you can just run around and do whatever you want. And that's what this book calls out. So I liked that. I was expecting just a bunch of different tourist destinations when I bought this book. And again, I was pleasantly surprised. So first thing we get into is terrain and movement. So they talk a little bit about terrain and how you would move about ordinarily in a game of Traveler and your mode of transportation. So if you're walking, it goes into some regions that would be maybe thickly forested or with a bunch of briars. It might be dangerous to just walk through there. Maybe you have to travel by vehicle. But even at that, if it's really thick forest, it might slow you down. So now we get the different types of terrain. We get a grassland, which is open and seems perfectly safe. But if you're in a tracked vehicle, there could be a creek or some kind of rut or something going across the grassland you wouldn't see. Shrubland, similarly, it's not as lush as the grassland, but you could still have problems traversing it. A wetland, Not necessarily a swamp, but going up to and including a swamp can be a real problem. Wetland can bog down any kind of land vehicle or person and cause you no end of problems. Forest and jungle, I've already talked about a little bit. They can be very hard to traverse if they're dense enough. Then we get a nice look at how to use animal encounters. I love that coming from a D&D background, as I did, animals are monsters. Because, in D&D, anything you fight is air quotes a monster, unquote. In Traveller, animals are animals. They're there. They fill their ecological niche, and that's what they do. They want to eat, sleep, and make new versions of themselves. That's all they're really existing for. And food and shelter are pretty much high on their lists. So I like that when you go into the animal's ecosystem, you could be causing a problem. So we get into life itself on the planet and how alien or similar to what we're used to you want to make it is up to you in your garden world. You can have a garden world that's perfectly fine, but maybe there's a microscopic creature there that infests all your food or your crops and destroys them, and you have to work out some way to get around that, or just an infestation that makes you ill. Plant life. Is plant life something you can metabolize with an ordinary human or Vargir metabolism? Can you metabolize the plant life? Animal life, same thing. Is the animal life dangerous? How is it dangerous? Is it a small insect with a poisonous sting? Is it a large predator that's going to eat me? And if it's not, if it's something I can possibly eat myself, is it safe to eat? Then we get hazards. And this I did like, because going into this book, of course, I've read a lot about hazards in various role-playing games, and hazards can be a really good part of any Traveller game. And we get into weather hazards here. And we touch on a downpour, which can be dangerous even if you're in a grav vehicle, because downpours can sometimes be accompanied by downdrafts. Fog, very dangerous if you're traveling. Hail, there is hail that is large enough to actually kill an unsheltered person. Lightning certainly can be dangerous and can kill a person. And wind can be extremely dangerous. We have here in the Midwest, we have every couple of years we'll have a derecho. A derecho is just a big, strong low that is pushing tremendous winds in front of it. And on the derecho, the tornadoes form in front of it. We actually had a tornado hit just about a mile from my house a couple of years ago and did a lot of damage as these derecho pushed through the area. It was pretty fascinating. We stood out in the backyard and pretty much watched the thing pass to the north. And then we have terrain hazards. Boulder field or outcrop. Boulder fields can be extremely difficult to traverse even on foot. You may step onto a boulder that looks perfectly fine, but if it shifts underneath you, you risk falling, you risk the boulder rolling on and pinning you. It can be a lot of problems. Burned area or wildfire. Wildfire, of course, you've got to be very careful, because once you realize that you're in a wildfire, it might be too late to do anything about it. A burn area can be dangerous in that there could be still pockets that are smoldering underneath the roots of a tree or something, and the wildfire itself could flare back up under the right conditions. Or the burn area can be subject to erosion, mudslides, so you've got to be very careful there. A concealed marsh. You're going through your grassland and all of a sudden, splash, you're in a marsh. Deep gullies. Again, your grassland can be a problem, or just deep gullies in any kind of rocky terrain. A dust bowl. Maybe it's a burn area that's dried out. It burned out 2 years ago, and now it's dried out, and it's just a dust bowl, or it's been cropped, overplanted, a la the dust bowl here in the United States in the 1930s, and it's just a big windstorm. It could also be just a desert windstorm. A lake. Lakes can be they're a tremendous source of life, and they can be a source of food for a lot of predators and a lot of herbivores, but they can be dangerous. Multiple water courses. You've got to be careful what the water courses are. Are they too fast to cross? Are they slow, but they conceal predators? Rasputitsa. I'd never heard this before. It comes from a Russian word, which can be translated as season of mud. In the spring and autumn, some areas of grassland become marshy and soft. Living in the Midwest again, yes, the ground around here can get very, very soft, and you can step into something and find yourself up to your knee in mud. Seismic tremors. Yes, please. There's nothing that says a planet has to be geologically stable. Here in Illinois, we have the New Madrid Fault well to the south of where I live, but I have felt a couple of earthquakes up here. Plant hazards. Yes, plants can be hazardous. They can be any kind of plant that's hazardous to you. It could be a plant that has needles or briars that stick you. It could be a plant that exudes some kind of poison. It can be a dope trap. A dope trap is basically an area that kind of shoots or blooms, and there's a nice scent to it that attracts animals. The animals basically are attacked by the scent. It puts them into a deep torpor, and then eventually they die. And then as the animal dies, it decays and feeds the plant. Also, local small predators can come in and feed on it. Impassable terrain, yes, that's very easy to encounter. Just any kind of forest or briars that are just too thick to go through. Tanglers, they can actually wrap you up. They're especially dangerous in conjunction with a lake. If there's any kind of water grass in the lake, you could jump into the lake, think you're fine, find your legs wrapped up in the grass, and find yourself unable to get free and get to the surface. Thorn spitters, yes, those aren't frequent around here, but in the desert southwest there are some where they'll actually shoot thorns at you. Jane's Guide to Animal Encounters of Garden Worlds. I like that. And now we got a bunch of different critters. I like traveler critters. I like them being called out. I like the way Mongoose especially has done them. Here we get a pseudosaur, which is almost a dinosaur kind of thing. It's not really related to a dinosaur, but it looks like one. Then we get a Brosnan. Brosnan is this big old guy right here. We get a conduit snake. These are kind of neat, and they can be a problem for your travelers. They like to crawl into tight, warm places. So if your ship is left open because you're working on it, you can find yourself with some conduit snakes in there infesting it. Darts. It's a predator. Let's see what this guy does. Dart is a reptoid pouncer, native to several worlds with extensive forests. Solitary creature attacks its prey from springing from a high place. It's not impossible for this thing to attack a human if it's hungry enough or you're in its territory, maybe during a mating season. A Faraday beetle. This one was kind of neat. Faraday beetle is an insectoid with a strong outer carapace and powerful mandibles. It's the size of a domestic cat and typically advances slowly across the landscape, eating whatever food can be found. The Faraday beetle gets its name because it can sense electromagnetic fields, and this would allow it to come in and you sense your electronics in your camp. It can come in there and be destructive. They can smash their way through the internal systems of a ship if the ship gets infested with these things to try to eat the tasty stuff within. An infestation of these things can be a real problem. Then we have a grass bug, large beetle-like creature with a horse. Why not? Just a plain old horse. There's lots of horses spread out through charted space. A cayenne, or Kian, is thought to be a native of Perlissa in the Spinwood Marshes sector, but can be found, it's been transplanted through a lot of different worlds. They are big enough that they can be ridden. They can be domesticated and ridden. A mind whacker. This thing's got mild psionics where it can kind of just hit you with a little mind blast and put you into a torpor and then eat you. Plains runner, filling the same niche as Baby a Wild Dog. A pony with 8 legs. This guy is huge. Looks like Sleipnir, Odin's horse. And they are in several worlds of the Salian Federation. And it's been moved to other places because it's a really good beast of burden. Ultrafauna. The term ultrafauna is a misapplication of what should be termed general type of fauna. It's big, a megafauna. It's big, or it makes up a big organism, like big grasses can make up a megafauna. And then we get some avian creatures. We get Argovenes pseudobird, a carrion jack. A little dragon. I like this guy. Looks a little like a pterosaur. A mobber. These things will mob you. There are some birds on Earth that'll do that. No, they'll end up just kind of not swarming you necessarily, but surrounding you. It can be hard to get away from. And a windbag. These things just float, and they only sting you if you get underneath the tentacles. And the Shamex, destroyers of ecosystems. Anybody who's read the Shamax Plague, or Camex, if you say it that way, these things are nasty. It's an old traveler adventure, and the Shamax can be very destructive very quickly. They breed very quickly, and they do a lot of damage to the environment that they're in. I'm not really going to go in. Well, yeah, I'll take a look at the Shamax. Why not? There is the Shamax. It's a bug. Some can fly, some cannot, and they breed like crazy. They are bugs that are roughly the size of a dog, and they can do physical damage, but the important thing is they destroy all of the ecology of the world that they're in. They can fight you. A traveler splashed with Shamax acid suffers 3 dice of damage, 2 dice the next round, and 1 dice the next, for a total of 6. And there we have the different types of Shamax. We have a hunter, a first brood hunter, a flying hunter, a juvenile female, and a Shamax maternal. So pretty cool. I like that these were included here. I was surprised that they were here, but it's a great example of how a garden world goes from being a pleasant place to live to a place that's completely uninhabitable by humans or any kind of alien race because of an infestation. Shamax are very hard to kill, and they're very destructive. So there you have it. That's just a good look at the Referee's Briefing number 6, Garden Worlds. I love this series. I'm kind of sad I'm at the end of it. I thought all 6 of these were very worth getting, and I've already used a few ideas in not only in Traveler, but I actually took a couple ideas out of these and plugged them into my D&D game not too long ago. So an idea is an idea. It doesn't matter where it comes from as long as it's fun. So that's all I've got to say today from page 121. I want to thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time on page 121.